Okay, today we're going to start with something new. We're going to start with taking a common grid view and introducing grid items that are different sizes so that your grid doesn't have to be repetitive size. You can make things stand out, you can change it based on the content or whatever it is you want. So let's do that. I am going to start up a new project here, and this is going to be a lot of fun today because I get a lot of questions about this, and so it's nice to get this out of the way. Alright, so here's my project. I'm going to go to the XAML, and actually I'm not going to do anything fancy here today. I'm going to jump to code behind, and I'm just going to set the data context now, right? Just set it directly so I can have some data. And just to make that fun, I'm going to get all the system colors. But that's easy enough, right? I can say type of colors, just like that. And in fact, let me do this up in using so I don't have to do it too much. And then I tell you what, if I add, because it is a extension method, sorry, I kind of lost it there, using Windows dot reflection, system dot reflection. There we go. Extension method of get runtime properties. There it is. So I'm going to get all the properties inside the colors class. I'll jump to this so you can see. Here's my F12 into it. They're just properties of this sealed class, right? It's not an enumerable. And so now I go and get them all, and so now I've got them all, right? This is all of them. I want to format them a little bit so I can use them. So I'll just create an anonymous type here. Isn't it beautiful that XAML can bind to anonymous types? So I'll say color equals x.getValue, and since it's static, you just pass in null. And I should probably give that a type. Let's do it's a color. Oops. There, now it's strongly typed. And then let me give it the name. Name equals x, which is the property itself. So I can just ask for the name of the property. That's nice and handy. And then I just say this dot data context equals those colors. So this is not what I wanted to show you, but it's pretty cool nonetheless. Look, I'm just getting all the colors in the system and just jamming them into a list. Okay, if I were back in the XAML, I'll add a grid view. And of course, grid view is how we show data, right? And so I can say, now I'll say grid view dot item template. This is how I want them all to look like. It's a data template that I'm going to do. I'm going to just show just the XAML so it's not so small. And let's see, I'll put it in a grid. I'll make its height 100, and I'll make its width 150. There you go. And so bear with me, grid.background, and then I'll make that a solid color, and this is the color, right? It's pretty cool. The color is, let's see, color binding to color. Oops, color. All right, I'm going to change this to simulator, and we're halfway there. We're a fourth of the way there. My estimates are a little optimistic. Okay, so, of course nothing will work until we bind the item source to the data context. Let's try that again. Of course, it's grid view is a repeater, and until you bind it to an enumerable, it's not going to repeat anything. Hey, there they are. Look, all the colors. I can scroll through them. Very nice. Very nice. I'm going to add their name so that I can take a look here, and I'll say stack panel, text block, and I'll say font size is 15, margin is 10. It's pretty small, you know, and text is binding to its name. Got it. Let's see, though, it needs to have a color, so let's do it like this, just like we did above. Solid color brush, color is black, and opacity is 0.75. And then the whole thing will just have vertical alignment to the top. Beautiful. So if I ran it again, same thing, only we would have the name at the top, just like this. Pretty cool. Now I haven't really done anything yet, but you get the idea. There they are, all looking at me. All right, this is pretty fun. It's an easy way to get some fast data too. Okay, so let me introduce you to something that you're going to need. And that basically is, go to code paste. Yes, a little snippet that I've got ready for you. And check out the URL right here, AOPVKS. That's for you to go get to. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to add it as a class inside my project. What am I doing? I'm overriding the grid view. This is how you do it. And the reason you do it is because it's always custom, the way that this is going to work. Let me just go ahead and add the class. Call it I'll call it the variable grid. That's what it is. It's a variable grid. And I'll just paste that in. There's really nothing I have to do to make it work except for add the using for grid view. So look what it is. It's my grid view, and I'm just inheriting grid view. So it's going to have all the functionality of a regular grid view with the exception of this one custom method of prepare container for item overwrite, and it allows me to do something to the item before it is rendered, right? To do something. And in this case, I'm going to be setting its column span and row span. So let's jump back here to grid view. And so here, I'm going to build so I have reference to that. And I'll say local colon, local colon, and see there's my grid view. I don't have to change everything. I just have to change the outer piece. It understands that it's a grid view. So I can leave that alone. The other thing, though, I'm going to change the underlying container so that it's not just a wrap grid, but a variable sized wrap grid. Here's how you do that. You say items panel, and you go get the items panel template, and you just change it to a variable wrap grid. Just like that. And now the variable size wrap grid will be the thing that renders all the items for me. So I'm going to make some changes to it. Let me say item height equals 100, and then item width equals 150, and then I'm just going to make this big for now. Later we can talk about how to use different templates for different types of items. That's really nice. But for now, let's just talk about how to change your size, because that's important. Now, if I were to run it right now, what would it look like? Let's take a look, because it's interesting. I can tell you now, though, it's going to look awfully similar. There it is, exactly the same, because we haven't said anything yet. In order to do that, and I'll drop back to my custom grid here, and I'll show you that what I'm looking for is a property called call span and row span. These are things that I will make up. Okay, so let's do it like this. I'll drop to the code behind to the XAML, and I'm going to add some things. I want to get the index, so I'll use a different way to select here, xi, and equals I. Right, so now I've got the index set. Also, I'm going to say call span. Remember, I'm looking for call span and row span. Call span equals I. Oops, there we are. And then I'll do the same thing for row span. All I'm doing here are calling methods that don't exist. So don't get too excited yet. I have to create these methods. First one and second one. Call span and row span. Here they are. Haven't implemented them. All I'm going to say is return 1 and return 1. Perfect. So now it's the same effect so far, right? Let me drop back, make a small change to my name here. I'm going to take out the text of this text block, and I'm going to add a run so I can have them side by side. I'll say the index. I put a period and put another one, and then bind that to the name. Oh, yes, that's exactly what I want. Now, if I were to show it to you now, and I'll run it again, it still looks exactly the same. Everything is one by one. but I get to see the numbers here, so that's really handy. So here we can see 0. So 0 is our first one. Just for fun, let's make it 2 by 2. Easy enough. Just drop to the code behind and say if I equals 2, then return 2. No, if 0, sorry. We're making the first one. And we'll do the same thing to the call span. Now, when I run this, everything will still be the same except for the first one, which will take up 2 spaces. I'll show you. Perfect. I could make that 2 by 3, 2 by 4, whatever it is I want. But now I can start making other changes as well. So here's 2, for example. Let's make it 3 tall. So if I say, let's see, that will be row. So if I2 return 3, but I won't do anything to its call span. It'll continue to be defaulted to 1. So now what's that going to look like? Beautiful, right? I'm starting to do it already. Now I'm doing this arbitrarily based on its ordinal position in the collection. You could do this based on data inside it, right? Of course you could. Let's see, 6 is bisque. I'm going to make bisque wide so we can start seeing what's going to happen. What number was it? Bisque is 6. So 6 call span, if I equals 6, return 3. In fact, let me do a couple other things. And I want to show you what happens when it doesn't fit. So that's an interesting problem to have. For example, here it doesn't fit. Now the only reason this doesn't fit is because remember I made the width of the grid container 500. Because I've gone 1, 2, 3 wide now, it's 150 plus 150 plus 150, 3, 400. No, I must have made it 300 instead. Right? It's just that the grid's not big enough. So here's the grid. If I made that 1300 by 1300, that would no longer be an issue. But you just have to make sure that your container is ready for the size that it's going to be. That's what's important. Here, because it's an arbitrary size, I make it gigantic. So see how wide it is right there? Let me show you something interesting. I'm going to take 7, and I'm going to make it 1, 2, 3 tall. Now that is really going to be weird, because see, it's not going to fit. It's going to have to wrap. So 7, 3 tall. That's going to be rows. If I equals 7, return 3. So now it's going to be 3 rows tall. That's not really 3. And it won't fit. So let's see what happens. And this is, again, something you're going to get to plan for, right? If you're going to start making variable size grids, first understand how they work. This is, so see what's happened. Since it doesn't fit, it went ahead and wrapped. This is set up as its orientation vertical. And so it started with 0, went to 1, 2, 3, keep going down, right? As long as it fits, it'll keep going. Then 4, 5, 6 fit. 7 doesn't fit, wrap, right? 8 fits, keep going. 9, 10. Does 8, 9 belong under 6? No, it doesn't, right? It's going to continue in the correct order, and it's going to keep going like now. This is all going to be a uniform size, right? Everything is 150 by 100, and that's the way it goes. You may want them to be totally crazy. I've built apps where the design comes back, and every item in the grid is slightly different than the others, just to make it really appealing to the eye. And it's hard to do because it means all of your templates have to be very dynamic, but that's all right. If you have to do it like that, here's the easiest way for me. Go here where variable wrap grid item height 150 and change your mindset and make it 1. And from that point forward, make your call span and your row span the number of pixels that it's going to take. I hope that makes sense, because it's certainly the easiest way to have a endlessly variable grid. However, if you're going to just do what we're doing here in the sample and just extend a few, then this is the right way to do it. Right? This is definitely the right way to keep them all somewhat uniform but still following. Obviously, I need to go and change 7 to just be 2, but then everything starts looking nice again. And in fact, let me do one more. I'll go to just to show you can keep going. This time I'll do 14. If 14, then 2. And then down here I'll do the same thing. If 14, then 2. Now it's going to be a nice looking grid again because I fixed the one that was the problem. And in the middle I injected another large one. See how black now fits where it's supposed to here? And then right here in the middle I put another one. I could make that 15. 15 would go above it, and then it would be bumped down. And I could keep going as I go through. This is how you do a variable sized wrap grid in XAML. It's not overly complicated, and really the only thing you need to think of really is this override that you'll do of the grid view so that you can implement your own logic here, or just take mine and make sure that you have a call span and a row span in the items that you're binding to your grid. If you're binding your own models, just add a call span and a row span, and then it'll start working. Then the logic is up to you. How you're going to actually set the row span, how you're going to actually set the call span. Use your own logic. Use your data to make those determinations. Then, when you show your grid, it's beautiful. Instead of a bunch of boxes that just sit on top of each other, you create things that are dynamic, you create things that are more appealing to the eye, and a UX that really draws users in and delivers both a great experience as well as business value to them, right? Excellent. Okay, best of luck.